In this video, we're going to focus on how we can give every bar's data set an individual bar thickness that will be relative to the highest bar on each data set. So let's start to look how to do this. So to do this, the first thing what we need is our boiler template. So you can find a boiler template here in chartjs3.com getting started. Once you're on here, scroll down and copy this chunk of code and you're good to go. Next, if you want to get the source code of this video and many others, check out my Patreon page and of course join the Discord channel. So what I'm going to do here right now is add not one bar, I want to have a whole data set here. Let's say multiples. So I'm going to add two more. Say comma and comma, there we are. So then I will just make sure that we have each of them in a different color and some different values. So it'll be 3, 3, let's say this, alright. Then for the next one, I'll just grab the blue color, the second one in line. Here, there we are. And we'll change the values as well. 1, 1, 1, and then 9, 1, 1, 1, something like that. And that one I'll leave it as it is, but I'll make sure we just have all the colors removed except for the red one. Save, refresh. Alright, so maybe we can just say red, blue, and finally black. Save, refresh. So as you can see here, we would like to give these relative values, but it depends on the series where they're in or in the data set where they're in. That will mean that this one here is the highest value, that should be the thickest, but here, the black one, this should be the thickest, while the other should be more narrow. Alright, to do this, I'm going to create a plugin again. Here, we're going to say plugins, and then we're going to say here, let's say multiple bar thickness. Then I'm going to copy this and make this our new constant equals ID. Like that, and then we say here before data sets draw, and the reason why is we want to recalculate the thickness before we draw the data set, which makes sense. So we're going to say here plugins, chart plugins, chart arcs and plugins, and then what I want to do here is an object destructuring, which will just say ctx for if ever we want to draw something, and then we have here the data as well. We can use those as our object destructuring. Alright, so what I want to do here now is, because we have multiple items, we want to loop through every one of these eventually and then recalculate this value here, and then grab the highest value, and once we grab the highest value we are going to recalculate the thickness of the width. So to do this, what I need is a few things. The first thing what I need is I want to get the data of our data set. For that, I do here console log, and then we can just say here chart.get dataset meta, and then we put in here whatever the index number is. So let's say 0 for now. Make sure we have double parentheses. Save, refresh. So as you can see here, we will get all this data that we have here, and that's all useful. And then if we go into the data of that, you can see here the bar element. We can open up. You can see here we get the width. The width right now is 23 pixels for every bar. They're identical. So what I want to do is I want to narrow them down depending on the value we have for this specific bar, in this case a red one. Alright, so to do that, what I really need here, well, let's do some shorthand here, because later on we need not only for this, we need for 1, 2, and if we have more, 3, 4, etc, etc. So what I want to do here, I want to use a shorthand for now. Say constant meta equals this, and then we just say here for now we put it at 0. And once we did this, I want to get the highest value out of it as well. And the highest value, what we're going to do is we say constant max equals the math.max. This is just a math object, or at least the max object, which basically means from an array we're going to extract the highest value. And to do that, we just use here the data, or let's see here, we have here the data. Let's do the rest operator first, or else it will not work. Dot data sets index 0, and then we can say here the data. So what will happen now, it will extract the highest value specifically from our data set. Later on, we need to soft code these so we can loop through them nicely. So if I save this, refresh, you should see here number 18, which is correct because 18 is the highest as of now. So once we did this, I want to make sure we're going to get here the bar width, or basically I want to get the bar width as well, which was basically what I showed you before. With the width that was about 20 pixels or even lesser. So I would just say here bar width, and the bar width will be equal of, let's grab here the meta, we have this shorthand here, and then we're going to say here we want to get the data, and specifically I guess here the data, and then I want to grab here, once we have this, it should be like this, the width, but this one now is the highest, but the highest can fluctuate. It doesn't have to be this one, it could be anything. And the reason I need to get the highest here is because that one is equal to 1. Everything else will have a division of the size, because they will be relative, and the highest value will be the thickest one. So I need to get that one. So what I can do here is just basically a shorthand. Well, we just put it in here. I'm going to say here the data sets index 0, and then I'm going to say dot index of, and the index of will be based on the max. Wherever the max value is, give me the position in the array, and that will be the leading guideline. Alright, so now we have this here. So if I save this right now, and if I do a console log of, I guess, the bar width, we should just get the standard information. I think there's index of this one. Alright, this here of course is not allowed, and the reason why I forgot to put in the data. So we need to be in the data object, that is this one. Later on we need to go to loop through each of these, so we have to loop through all of those. So I think now we should have a proper working model. There we are, it's 18. So now what I want to do is I want to go into this, and then from here on we're going to play around. So what I'm going to say here is the following. I guess we say here meta.data, and then we say here for each metadata. And what this really does is it gives us, if I'm not mistaken, here the index value of each. Let's see here, hold on, let me just double check here. If I do a console log, let's see if I have this correct. Meta.data, if I save this, refresh. Alright, we're going for every one of these. Yes, that is correct. So we're looping through all this data, and then I want to say here for every data point, that's basically what I'm trying to do here. For every data point I want to recalculate the bar thickness for now, and the bar thickness will be based on, I guess here, the data point comma index, index function arrow expression. Then what I will say here, how do we calculate the new bar thickness? So we say here new width, or new bar width. Let's call new width for now. That will be the bar width, whatever the width is, divided by max, will be the highest value of our data set. Later on we need to soft code this, and then multiply by the position of our data set. And what I can do is very simple. I'm going to grab all of this and just get the index. So once we did this, I can just say here now the, I guess here, for every data point, yes, dot width equals the new width. And basically this data point width is just the width here that we extracted from this value here. And this would be, if this would be 0, it's like this. Alright, so now we have this. If I save this, refresh. Alright, so now it works, but it only works on a single item. Let's loop this through all of them. So for that, what I need to do here is I'm going to create here, I guess, we need to make here a for each. So we say here, let's remove that data dot data sets, and then we say here a for each loop. And then here for every data set, we get the data set index. Then we cut out this, put it in here. Then this data set index is important for us. We said we could put it in there. And you can see here, this all together works nicely. Let's save this, refresh. There we are, and I guess we are done here. We could make it a function out of it, but I think this is more than enough. And that looks phenomenal. Let's test this by adding another data point. There, and then we say here 10, 30. I just put it here 10. Let's see what happens. Save, refresh. There we are. This is the highest one, that's the thickest, and everything else will be relative to that. Beautiful.